Hello, good evening. Welcome, and this is Qtv News. I'm Umudu Gajaga. Thanks for joining us. First, the main local sports news headlines and international stories. 3 senior members of the Gambia Armed Forces have been promoted at a ceremony presided over by President Adama Barrow. The Gambia Ports Authority and the Gambia Revenue Authority on Thursday inspected a new facility to handle inbound cargo in a bid to free up space at the main port in Banjul. In a testimony that concluded in a dramatic fashion, Lamin Babadinding Jabate, a former justice minister during Jammeh's regime, who had been adversely mentioned in relation to 2 incidents, appeared before the Truth Commission on Thursday. In international news, as pro-democracy protests in Myanmar continue for a 7th day, the decision by the military to free 23,000 prisoners is viewed with suspicion. In sports news, we hear how second division club PSV Wellingara are getting on with their bid to gain promotion back to the first division of the GFF. Those were the main news headlines, and now the local news in detail. Welcome and thanks for joining us. This is Qtv News. The Chief of Defence Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, together with 3 other senior officers, were on Friday decorated with the ranks of Lieutenant General, Major General and Brigadier General at a ceremony presided over by the President and Commander-in-Chief. As Aliou Cisse reports, there was also a symbolic presentation of vehicles for UN peacekeeping missions.
The 4 newly promoted senior military officers took the 6 prescribed oaths of office: trust, secrecy, allegiance to the Commander-in-Chief, allegiance to the state, and allegiance to the people of the Gambia, which was administered by Salimata Toure, Deputy Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service. According to their individual citations, read by Major Lamin K. Sanyang, GAF's Director of Press and Public Relations, the 4 have wealth of experience serving the Army. They have previously manned critical positions and have undergone several local and overseas training courses. The current CDS, Major General Yakuba A. Drame, is now promoted to Lieutenant General, while his deputy, Brigadier General Mohamed O. Echam, is now promoted to Major General. Colonel Tro Jaune, Commander of the National Republican Guard, and Colonel Usman Gomez, Commander of the Gambia National Army, are both elevated to the rank of Brigadier Generals. The Army said the promotion is a reward for the officers' commitment to service and hard work, but also part of the ongoing efforts to reform the security service. President Barrow, who doubles as the Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces, said he is hopeful that they will continue their hard work and the new promotion will motivate them further to take leadership roles in spearheading the security sector reform agenda.
I congratulate every one of them heartily, and I thank the Gambia Armed Forces leadership for their loyalty and devotion to the nation. We are genuinely convinced that these promotions are based on merit and are the result of dedication to duty, exemplary leadership qualities, loyalty and trust earned by the decorated officers. As trusted officers, it is incumbent upon you and all those under your command to continue to respond to the security needs and aspirations of the Gambian people.
He encourages members of the armed and security services to continue being vigilant and responsive within the law to all threats. However, vice a school of thought that the president will go beyond ordinary interaction with the senior command and make regular visits to barracks to interact with the soldiers to gather first-hand information about their living conditions, which will serve as a moral booster. Lieutenant General Yakuba A. Drame, Chief of Defence Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, on behalf of his colleagues, thanked the President and Commander-in-Chief for the trust and confidence in decorating them to such high ranks. The promotions, he said, are both envious and challenging ones. He expressed their commitment to have a highly professional and a political army that is answerable to civilian authority.
To whom much is given, much is expected in return. On the basis of that, Your Excellency, we are aware of these challenges and responsibility, and we sincerely promise that we will live up to those sacred promises and expectations from all Gambians, and including His Excellency, in fulfilling our defined functions as leaders of the armed forces.
Sheikh Omar Faye, the Minister of Defense, thanked the government for its commitment to the ongoing security sector reform agenda, despite many expressing dissatisfaction with the slow pace of progress.
I have no doubt that the President, as Commander-in-Chief, has a defined, ambitious agenda for the armed forces, which will surely make you truly obligatory and promulgation of peace, prosperity, progress, democracy, and human dignity in our beloved country.
The event wrapped up with a symbolic presentation of 28 brand new vehicles for GAF, earmarked for standby quick reaction forces in the event of future emergency UN peacekeeping missions. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliu Sise.
As the intake of cargo in the country, it has become evident that more space was needed at the country's Banjul port. In addressing these officials of the Gambia Ports Authority and the Gambia Revenue Authority on Thursday inspected a new facility identified for the handling of transit and inbound cargo in a bid to free up space in the main port in Banjul. Aliu Sise again.
The facility is part of efforts to decongest the port amidst the increase in volume of cargo, which is outgrowing the main facility in Banjul. The new facility is located along the Bone Road and is expected to enhance the efficient handling of cargo. Usman Jabate, the managing director of GPA, said the development of the site started a year ago and is quite elated by the substantial improvement in the desired work, as it is according to the customs requirement in terms of fence height, security system, and office accommodation.
Well, it's an increased capacity in that the areas in the port that are already congested would be decongested, and then productivity and output will be increased. Because if you are aware, in the port, some of the challenges that the operators have is in the business that they can transact in a day because of the limited space that is available, and it's having a toll also on the equipment. So with this additional space, it will be a great improvement in terms of the output. They will be able to load faster and the volume will increase, and it will also attract other investors to show that there's increased capacity in the port.
This is one of the expansion projects by the Ports Authority to ensure timely and easy access to goods. This will also boost turnover for the Revenue Authority through the Seaport Customs. Yankuba Dabo, the Commissioner General of the Gambia Revenue Authority, is equally satisfied with the progress of work, but wants some improvement on the ground, which is located on a swampy area.
So the idea of having this facility here is really something we need. Right? You can see it by yourself. We can have hundreds and hundreds of containers that are going on transit in this facility. Hundreds of vehicles that are also on transit can come over here. And then the main port area will be free for other activities like home use cargoes. And this is the dream of the managing director of GPA and his team. And this is our dream as well, because the faster the turnover, the better for the businesses. And Gambia, compared to other countries, our turnaround time is very, very, very short in terms of clearance. But sometimes we do have delay due to space and congestion. And we are working together, myself and him, every day to see the possibilities of, creating space for the containers and the vehicles that goes around, so that the turnaround time will be faster.
The seaport of Banjul also receives transit goods destined for Mali and other countries within the sub-region. Kisima Gindo, a Malian operator who brings transit cargo to Banjul, welcomes the move to identify such a site for their activities. He said they have been facing challenges due to limited space at the port. We hope to increase our volume with this development, Gindo said in French. It is hoped that in the coming days and weeks, activities are expected to commence at this site. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliu Sise.
And now to an interesting story at the TRRC. I can't remember, I don't remember, and I didn't do it have all become familiar refrains at the TRRC, usually from those who have had adverse mentions. Lamin Babadinding Jabate, a former justice minister during Jammeh's regime, appeared before the Truth Commission on Thursday. There was to be a dramatic conclusion to the session. Yahya Jao reports.
Lamin Babadinding Jabate had been adversely mentioned for the torture of accused persons at the NIA and was the justice minister when 9 NIA inmates were executed on the orders of ex-President Jammeh. The witness gave a brief explanation of his experience working with ex-president as justice minister.
You will consider him the strongest and the bravest man in the world. Because he's mostly characterized by lies and false stories.
Give us examples.
Kerwan Bridge. He said he spoke to the devils. And they laid conditions.
Ando wol fanal nate la sarto lulandi.
Which they accepted.
Me ya lonko wol fanal sonta.
Then the late Sirif Diba
Utumo tala Sirif Diba
was there.
Obije.
And he made him a witness.
Ando ayola kala sedot.
Did Mr. Diba accept?
He wouldn't dare disagree.
The witness accepted the lead council's proposition that top senior government officials were scared of Jammeh. On the execution of the Mile 2 death row inmates, the witness said he was not part of the process as the Minister of Justice.
Failure to discharge your responsibilities?
These are very
serious charges.
If the responsibilities were shifted from me to somebody else, I don't want to get involved.
When evidence of 9 warrant documents of the execution signed by ex-president was shown to the witness, Jobate said the documents are false as he is not aware of any warrant from his office. It was claimed that some were killed by suffocation and some by strangulation. Babadini Jobate said he did not know how the executions were done and was never present at the execution place, but could not tell the commission where he was at the night of the execution. There was a dramatic conclusion to the testimony, which came after some commissioners had posed their questions to the witness. Firstly, the lead counsel started to play audio with the voice of the witness justifying that the execution of the 9 death row inmates had been lawful. After a few seconds of the tape, the witness accepted that it was him making the announcement, something he had denied during his testimony. The second intervention from the lead counsel was when he read a statement sent to him, which he read from his phone. It refuted the claim by this witness and his colleague Fode Barry that Mbalo Kante had his nipple cut off in Liberia. The lead counsel asked that both these items be entered as evidence.
Please go ahead.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Follow Benna Banco Alpha Ba Contona Menkata Dr. Ajaratu Njai Feditu. The Honorable Dr. Njuguba Contona.
And there is nothing in these things that I have denied.
You satisfied that this was you talking?
Yes.
And you satisfied that in that instance you justified the executions as lawful under Gambian law? The person said the commission needs to charge the current witness for contempt of court for blatantly lying on the oath. Referring to Fodebari. He said Domingo died on the 6th of April 1996.
Domingo banta April karo Tiliworo 1996
And Balo Kante was never arrested in Liberia for his breast to be cut.
Balo Kante inana mamuta Liberia surdu kana kafoko ka kuntu.
Domingo was captured by the Ulimo J and tortured to death.
Domingo Unimo J kafo molwala mutandu ya lipa ya tajirende afafara
and buried somewhere. We later exhumed his corpse and gave him a proper burial. Balo and Co. left Liberia long before the April 6 operation where Domingo died.
The evidence from this witness concluded the 20th session of the commission. The commission's committees and subcommittees will sit next week, and the 21st session of the public sittings will resume on 22nd February with hearings into the killing of West African migrants and residual NIA operatives. Reporting for QTV News, I am Yahya Jao.
We will take our first commercial break, and when we return with more local and international news stories. Employees respond to appreciation expressed through the recognition of their work because it confirms the value of their work. Fajikunda Health Center is one health center in the Gambia that recognizes annually the efforts of its staff through an award ceremony. More in this report.
Employee recognition awards are the titles and honors organizations confer on their employees for their great efforts or business result that support the organization's goals and values and which clearly exceed normal expectation. A report published by WHO says the disease burden caused by percutaneous sharp injuries among healthcare workers was found to be 3 million per year. One reason they deserve to be recognized. A sharp's injury is an incident which causes a needle, blade, or other medical instruments to penetrate the skin.
In a sober reflection to COVID-19 pandemic, my directorate has always been concerned about staff welfare throughout the period. And it is quite clear from our understanding that all staff have received their COVID-19 allowances. To those 10 staff who were infected and were taken on quarantine, we say sorry for the trauma they went through during those trying times. We salute them for their perseverance as well as their understanding of their roles and responsibilities and their position in cutting the transmission of the virus to other colleagues for accepting to be on quarantine.
When employees and their work are valued, their satisfaction and productivity rises, and they are motivated to maintain or improve their good work. Gallup studies show employee recognition is the key factor influencing employee engagement and therefore organizational performance.
It's so nice and pleasant to be recognized in a facility. A big facility like Fajikunda, you come and work for 8 hours and your recommendations be like people award you for your own effort. It is really heartfelt. I really feel happy that I have it, and I'm urging my colleagues, my fellow staffs to always come to work on time. Because one of the things that I always say, if you respect your work, you value what you do, you always come to work on time, do your effort. People are out there and they are looking.
Staff from all departments were recognized as well as the health center's partners. For millions of people, healthcare providers are the first and often only point of contact with the health system. With the right training, support, incentives and supervision, these healthcare workers can help to expand coverage of key preventive and promotive measures. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Jennifer Sonko.
We will take another short commercial break, and when we come back, the news continues with more international stories and sports news. Welcome back. In international news, a week after pro-democracy protests started, the Myanmar military has released 23,000 prisoners, including 55 foreigners, citing the country's Union Day as a basis for the decision. As Jennifer Sonko reports, the mass protests against this month's coup saw no sign of ending.
The Myanmar military seized power on 1st February following a general elections, which Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy won by landslide. The military is demanding a rerun of the vote, having claimed widespread fraud and accusation rejected by the Independent Electoral Commission. The military's release of the 23,000 prisoners using Myanmar's Union Day has not been welcomed by all. The Myanmar's Union Day marks the anniversary of the 1947 Panglong Conference in the months leading up to the country's independence from the British. It is a tradition that prisoners are pardoned on Myanmar's National Day. However, coming from the military and in the midst of a nationwide pro-democracy protest, many are skeptical about the real reasons. A student activist told the BBC he feared the prisoners were being released to attack protesters. He said, and I quote, "The people have very bad precedent. In 1988, the military junta released the pro-military prisoners and they disturbed our people's peaceful demonstrations. Despite military leaders' plea to stop the protests and unite, protesters have continued for a 7th day. Protests have been largely peaceful, although a protester was shot with live ammunition and remains in hospital in a critical condition. Ethnic activist and winner of the prestigious Goldman Environmental Prize last year says democracy in its current form may not have served Myanmar's ethnic minorities, but it's still better than a total military control. The military has grabbed our lands in the past, and our worry is that it will happen again, reversing whatever we have achieved. He added that since the opening up of the country in 2011, at least they have some democratic space in which to engage on policy matters. Now this is gone and they risk facing more violence like before. Globally, sanctions are back on the agenda, with US President Joe Biden announcing steps to prevent the country's top generals from accessing $1 billion of Myanmar government funds held in the US. I again call on the military to immediately release democratic political leaders and activists, US President Joe Biden said as he announced sanctions. European Union foreign policy also warned of possible sanctions. United Nations Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in Myanmar, Tom Andrews, warned that all military members engaged in human rights abuses prosecuted. China, which was believed to be a supporter of Myanmar's military and is likely to block attempts at any UN sanctions, does not favor the coup as it is a sign of instability in its region of geographical influence. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jennifer Sonko.
In sports news, second division club PSV Wellingara have set their sights on promotion to the GFF First Division. A 1-1 draw against Young Africans on Thursday evening put them 10 points after 5 matches. I watched the game at the stadium and this is my report. An own goal after just 12 minutes put Young Africans in the lead. From Adam Mercedes' right foot shot, Maseku Cham nicked the ball in his own net. The men in green continued to pose some threats in attack but were poor in their finishing. After 2 substitutions in the second half, PSV gained control of the game with more possession. Mohamed Wale's coming on brought more flair to the Wellingara side, and it didn't take long before his presence resulted in this goal. Fabakary Touré's shot from outside the box was too strong for Sekou Gassama, even though he got a touch on it.
Yeah, anyway, goal on happy to back and content anyway. More win so don't draw so to with the goal. At Afafona, I tell you, I can force goal to this year. More lucky, more goals scored, but goal on content, for the first goal for the season.
More than half of PSV Wellingara's first team players are out injured, but their coach Keba Sawane says he is hopeful they will all make a full recovery soon and join the rest of their teammates in working to get promoted to the first division after they were relegated in 2019.
Yeah, the first goal wasn't a good one, so we struggled to come from behind to equalize. So that makes the game so difficult for us. So, but we are going to use it as a learning point. So hopefully in the next game we'll be able to improve better. So I believe tactically, technically we were much better. But like I said, we considered a very bad goal in the early minutes of the game, just after 11 minutes. So that was just very, very bad. So, but we'll try to improve and then we'll try to rectify our wrongs, and then hopefully next time we'll try to avoid things like that.
Abdul Wahab Gay, Young Africans coach, was furious with the officiating but reserved his comments and instead spoke about the performance of his team.
The game was a very fine game and it was very intensive. You know, both teams can decide the game, but we share the points. It's not easy because as a match official, I think it's not easy to say, but I think let me just forget about it and try to work very hard to make sure the team will win. I think that's the most important thing. Let me forget about the match officials, and work with my team.
Young Africans will play league leaders Jam City in their Week 6 fixture, while PSV Wellingara host Gunjur at the National Technical Training Centre ground. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News. Before we end this bulletin of the news, let's have a quick look at our main news stories. 3 senior members of the Gambia Armed Forces have been promoted at a ceremony presided over by the President. The Gambia Ports Authority and the Gambia Revenue Authority on Thursday inspected a new facility to handle inbound cargo in a bid to free up the main port in Banjul. Lamin Babadinding Jabate, a former justice minister during President Jammeh's regime and who has been adversely mentioned in relation to two incidents, appeared before the Truth Commission on Thursday. In international news, as pro-democracy protests in Myanmar continue for a 7th day, the decision by the military to free 23,000 prisoners has been viewed with suspicion. In sports news, we heard how second division club PSV Wellingara are getting on with their bid to gain promotion back to the GFF First Division. That's all we have for you in tonight's news edition. Thank you very much for watching and we wish you a pleasant night.